Higher Learning Network. Put your hand back.
Thank you so much for joining us here today on the Higher Learning Network. I'm your host, Zelda Robinson, and today I have a fantastic guest all the way from Apex, North Carolina. She flew in specifically this morning just for this show, and you are going to be so happy that you tuned in. So what I want you to do right now is put this on pause, and if you're watching it on YouTube, call somebody, text them, do whatever it is you need to do. This is a fascinating show. This is a young lady who has a story unlike anything I've ever heard. So she's going to share that story with you. And her name, this is the funny part. She's related to the producer, Keith McDonald. Her name is Cornelia McDonald. Cornelia McDonald. Ring a bell? Well, Cornelia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Zelda, thank you. I'm honored to be here. I thank you and Mary for having me. And I tell you what a golden opportunity this is.
I consider it a golden opportunity to have you here. And thank you, Mary, from, let me see, Mary Shelton. Let me see if I can get this right. Fuquay? Fuquay. I keep saying Fur.
It's an Indian name.
It's an Indian name. Yeah. Fuquay, North Carolina. How far is that from Apex, North Carolina?
Oh, about 15 minutes.
Okay, so a hop, skip, and a jump.
Exactly.
Like a suburb.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Okay. Now, you sent me your bio. She is the author of the month, and the name of the book is entitled, I Want to Tell You My Story. So let me tell you a little bit about her story. She sent me her bio. Let me put my little helpers on here because I want to get this right. First of all, she is the daughter of a sharecropper. Now, see, you didn't know this about me, but my family sharecropped in a little town called Crenshaw, Mississippi. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a good show.
Right.
And then you go on to say your father, who was a preacher,
yes,
and who was 16 years older than your mother.
Yes.
And his motto was, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Oh,
and he ruled with an iron fist, which most parents in the South did.
Right.
Now, it goes on to say that, this is just so funny. I'm not laughing at you, but I'm just laughing at the circumstances in which we have familiar backgrounds growing up.
Right.
It says here that you grew up in segregation in abject poverty, used a well for water, wood-burning stove, an old, dilapidated, freezing cold in the winter, and unbearable heat in the summer. Sound familiar? Sounds like Chicago. And you lived in shacks for homes without any of the modern conveniences. It was like growing up in a developing country.
Yeah.
A third world country.
Right.
This is why I laugh, because I grew up in a little town called Crenshaw, Mississippi for a small portion of my life. And the house that my girlfriend, her name is Bay Girl, her name was Baby Girl, but you know in the South we cut everything out. Baby Girl. The house that they lived in, it was a shack that was like this, but it leaned to the side. It leaned to the side.
Yeah.
So I talked to her recently. She moved north, and I discovered that the house actually eventually fell over. So I'm just laughing my head off when I read this. It was just hilarious. Anyway, this was good for me. So it also says you're the fourth of 10 children, a big family. Families used to have 10, 12, 16,
right,
18
yeah.
kids.
22. There's two families in my community that had 22 each.
22. That's funny. We must be some kin, girl, because I got an aunt. She had 21 kids.
Wow.
21. Okay, it also goes on to say that your father died when you were 15 years old, but his strict discipline and abusive treatment, sounds like Michael Jackson's father, would take another 45 years for you to come to terms with that and release some of that pent-up feelings that you had.
Zelda, when we talk about strict discipline, that's a code name for abuse. They didn't call it that back then, but that's a code name because it doesn't build you up. You see, and because when you live on survival, there's no building up. It's like we got to get this crop in because this white man is on my back. Kind of, you see what I'm saying?
Of course I do.
And so he had his own dynamics.
Right.
And he was spare the rod and spoil the child. But then what I later figured out from my uncle, that his father would tie him up in the barn naked and beat him. So the reason I wrote the book is that to come to terms with my own rage. And number two, I wrote the book because what I want to do is break the cycle. And I want us to start talking about how we discipline our children, because behavior, punishment and discipline is two different things.
Two different things.
And we haven't really come to that understanding yet, because we'll defend beating somebody.
Oh yes, we will in a minute. I'll beat you like you stole something.
Yeah.
That's a favorite, by the way,
You know,
in our community.
But that doesn't, your cells remember. And our children are so defiant because they don't have the wherewithal or the mechanism or the language to express themselves.
The tools that they
Sit
need.
down,
Right.
shut up.
Right.
That's not life affirming.
No, it's not.
You know, so I couldn't figure it out. But what happened to me, years later, working at UCLA, I grabbed a girl on my job. I know I didn't put that in there because I was good.
Okay.
You
You want to get sued?
Well, no, well,
Yeah.
I grabbed her.
Okay.
But it was my father's face that I saw.
Oh.
Because she kept, you know, every little thing she documented, every little thing I did wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so in
Similarities.
grabbing her, I was taught in the South, you be a Southern belle. You don't ever let somebody see you sweat. You pretend.
That everything's all right.
Yeah. Because we dressed up on Sunday, we went to church.
Put your face on.
Put your face on. You better not act up, because if you act up, I'm going to beat you right in front of people, kind of
Sit
thing.
still.
You sit still and behave. Some of that's good.
Right.
You know, but I said, okay, what happened? I mean, she's been here 10 years before me. Why am I grabbing her? But it frightened me. I was frightened that I did that to her. Where did that rage come
Right.
from?
You had to catch yourself.
See, what I did is I stifled it down. You're stupid, you're no good, you're stupid. You know, you're not as smart as your sister, you're stupid. You see what I'm saying? So I held on to that.
You travel with that.
Travel with
all
it.
over the world.
All over the world.
And it's been there.
Because I was trying to find myself, and you know what I realized, Zelda? You take yourself with you.
Yes, you do.
Wherever
Everywhere
you go.
You're right there.
So I wanted to deal with that and share that. And I did this for 10 years as a play, one-woman show.
Because I read in your bio that you have traveled all over the world, and I'm looking here. It says that you've been to, where is it? Istanbul, Germany.
Istanbul is, I went with contingency with the UN, and I did my piece down there to the last conference of the century, 1996, called Habitat for Humanity.
Okay, familiar with
And that's when I started looking, because things started to happen for me. And it's like, God, I think what we don't realize is that God has a purpose for everybody.
everything and everyone.
And even that became my greatest teacher. Because when I got to Istanbul, the people there that I went with and the people there, I was treated very differently because I was with the group. And the man that set it up, the Turkish man, Munir, sent a car for me every day. And the guy said, we're a group. And he said, well, I only have room for one. Yeah, I mean, I went to the Bosphorus Strait, had dinner, to the palaces, and you know, on yachts, to the islands. And it hit me, I'm like, okay, I need to look at what I think of myself, because I'm not what my father said.
Because they see something totally
Yes.
different. That was a eye-opening moment for you,
It definitely
I'm sure.
was. And he had two drivers, and they were like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful, she's so nice.
Isn't that wonderful? And sad on another note, too, because you have to leave this country in order to get that kind of recognition, because America does not make us feel good about ourselves.
But that's because we have to encourage ourselves in each other.
But that has to come from within.
It does.
Yes.
And so I had a wonderful time there. I traveled all over Europe. They thought I was a singer. And
do you sing? 'Cause
Japan.
you have a voice.
I can do a little bit.
I could hear it.
At Japan, and I went there a couple times, spent a month each, and people took my picture, and I thought, I got to rethink myself.
Japan, England, Jamaica, Holland, France, Switzerland, and Germany.
My name is Andrea Slaughter. I'm a Higher Learning Network staff, and you're watching Higher Learning Network.
I knew I should have followed my first mind, and I did follow my first mind. And he's sitting right there in the audience, Tony Hogues. Yes, it's the truth, because in this society, women are told that they have no self-worth if they don't have a partner. Women are told that they are less than equal to a man. And I said to myself, I was in my 50s when I decided to get married, because I said, number one, there's nobody that I can't live without. I love my life. I'm traveling. I'm working radio and television. I'm writing books. I'm writing a movie script. And I don't need somebody to complete me, because I was fulfilled, but there wasn't somebody in my life special to share it with. But now that I do have somebody special to share it with, my husband, Tony Hogues, of 3 years. We've been together 6, married for 3. And I did follow my first mind. And I advise you to follow your first mind too. You'll be glad you did. And thanks for watching. Japan, England, Jamaica, Holland, France, Switzerland, and Germany. Where is it that you have not been with this one-woman docudrama?
Well, I definitely want to go to the Caribbean, and I want to go to Africa.
I know you do, and you've got to go to the motherland.
Oh, yes.
You will be the queen. You will be recognized as the queen that you are. I love it in Africa.
This guy, Nat, he's the mayor of Accra. And after I finished open air castle, 450 people, he came over, he said, look what the white man stole from us. I wept. And people were coming, taking their jewelry off, giving it to me, amber necklace. And this one lady, I had this
Where were you when this happened?
In Istanbul. I was in, after I did my performance, I had a green silk blouse on. And this lady, Turkish lady, came over. And she was crying and just like crying. She said, thank you. Now I can leave my husband. And a lady from Sweden came and gave me her amber necklace because she'd been in Africa. And so, see, the word is powerful.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, what does it say? Death and life is in the tongue.
All day long.
And when we understand poetry, and the reason I started doing arts, you know, I quit nursing, is because, you know why? It's a non-threatening way to share a message and get people, and kids say to me, you're the first adult that's ever talked to me like this.
So you were a licensed practical nurse.
Yes.
You left that profession.
I did.
How long ago?
Years ago,
And so,
1990.
Okay, yeah, that has been some years.
Yeah.
And why did you leave that profession? Making good money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but you know what I found out, Zelda? It ain't about the money.
Oh, can you repeat that again, please?
When you
Somebody
don't
needs
know
to
who
hear
you
that.
are, when you feel at ease, the money complicates it. Because I made more money 1 year than my daddy did his whole lifetime. So, and I'm still not happy. I live 3 miles from the beach. I'm still not happy. I mean, I'm going with celebrities and the Laker games. I'm still not happy. I gotta find me. And this is the reason that I was so honored that Mary said this is an opportunity, because I see myself as an encourager. I want you to feel good. I want you to bloom. I want you to rise. And I don't have a problem with helping you or sharing what I know.
I want you to feel as good about you as I feel about me.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm home now. See, I've been reaching for myself a long time, and I'm home. But it took the next phase for it to happen.
And the next phase was?
I had 2 surgeries I had fibroids. I had 2 surgeries. I was 340 pounds.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. And he came in, the doctor came in with tears in his eyes. Dr. Jack Ange, I'll never forget it. He said, I need everybody to leave the room. So your specimen came back positive for cancer. I said, you're kidding, right? He said, I wouldn't kid about a thing like that.
Right.
You see, so I sat there. I said, God, maybe I waited too long to have these fibroids out.
And how long had you had them in you?
10 years.
Really?
But I was a vegetarian,
Okay.
and I kept them at bay.
Okay.
But then I just swolled up like within 6 months.
Okay.
And I wanted the robotic arm surgery. I did my research now, and I wanted the robotic arm.
You wanted a robot to do the surgery.
And he was amazing.
Not
The doctor,
human.
the doctor was doing it with the robot. I didn't want to
Okay.
be cut.
a 6-month-old fetus.
Yeah, 2,800 grams, and he did the surgery. And then 2 nights later, there was one that was calcified. He didn't cut me. He just scraped it down. So the incision was longer, because the incision was about that long.
Okay.
But my intestine, kind of strangulated. So I had to go back and have a second surgery.
Oh my goodness.
And so then I waited a month, and then I went and got 6 rounds of chemo. Horrible.
Horrible.
And then I had 6 weeks of 5 days a week external radiation. And then I had 5 where I was on the table, legs in stirrups for 5 hours. Oh yeah.
You've been through the fire.
Oh yeah, and I've come out the other side. And so in that, I learned to be mindful. I learned to roll with the punches. I learned to protect what I put in my mouth, what I heard in my ear. And so I want to say to women, it can be bad, but when we start taking responsibility for what we put in our mouths and, drinking water, you don't die from cancer. I'm telling you, you know what you die from? Malnutrition and dehydration.
It's funny you should say that. There's a doctor named Dr. Lorraine Day. You can look her up on YouTube. And that's exactly the same thing she said. She was a medical doctor who quit the medical profession because she refused to take chemotherapy and radiation because she saw what it was doing to her patients. So she was literally lying at home on her couch, literally dying. And her husband told her, well, you may not take the medical profession's advice to do the regular way of doing things, but you've got to do something.
Exactly.
So that's when she began to do the research, and she healed herself without radiation and chemotherapy, even though in the beginning she started to, but she didn't. So I know what you speak of is true, because this woman has gone on to heal millions of people.
Wonderful. See, when we understand our worth and our value. See, that's what it took me. Cancer was horrible. It was the worst of time, but the best of time, because I got to know me. And for the first time in my life, I see myself differently in the mirror.
What it came to teach you.
That's exactly what I said. What did you come to teach me?
What did you come to teach me?
It came to teach me about love, beauty, compassion, reverence. It came to teach me that I was worthy and that I had value and that I had to erect healthy boundaries. See, I'm the caretaker. I'm
Taking care of
codependent.
everybody. But Cornelia.
Never took care of myself.
You don't have time to take care of me. I'm too busy taking care of other people.
My phone used to ring from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. Now it rings twice a day or once a day. You see
If
what
at
I'm
all.
saying? If at all.
Some of the realizations, reading from your bio here, some of the realizations were you must accept yourself fully. That means big nose, big ears,
Big
nappy
lips.
head, big hips, flat feet, all of that. Just
off the block in Roseland. You're watching on Higher Learning.
I knew I should have followed my first mind with this relationship, this young man, because my worst nightmares were realized. Follow your first mind. If it's a snake, if it looks like a snake, it feels like a snake, it is a snake. Okay.
All right, thanks so much. Some of the realizations, reading from your bio here, some of the realizations were you must accept yourself fully. That means big nose, big ears,
big
nappy
lips,
head, big hips, flat feet, all of that, just as it is.
I asked the cancer because that first round took me out. I mean, I had no muscle tone. I was weak. I had to crawl to the bathroom. And I thought, all I have to do is stop breathing. And my brother that passed on 8 years ago was at the end of my bed, and he said, ain't your time. And I said, if I open my eyes and he's standing there, I'm going to shoot myself. He said, it's not your time.
Oh, wow.
And so he said, I said, what did you come to teach me? And that day, I hadn't had a bath in like 3 days, 4 days. I got up and I said, okay, I got to look in the mirror. And it hit me. He said, you must accept yourself fully.
Just as
you are.
Disease,
and let me tell you what.
And all.
I mean, and the chemo and the radiation, you know, it takes a toll on your body, right?
Yes.
And I thought, oh, wow. So then my taste buds changed. I had no taste. I ate anyway. Because I wasn't, you know, he said to me, you're going to be in a wheelchair, my chemo doctor, for probably about a year.
Oh. And were you?
Well, it was 3A, stage 3A cancer.
Oh, stage 3. And stage 4 is final.
Thank you. I never was in a wheelchair except after
goodness.
treatments or whatever, you know, get in my car, but no, not at home. Because I decided that I was going to live. And when I decided I was going to live, and then I realized I had a poverty mentality and I had a victim mentality.
What was the turning point that made you say, I'm going to live? What thought came into your mind?
My brother came, and he and I were really tight, Leonard, and he had sickle cell, and they said he wasn't going to live till he was 20. He lived to be 54. And he used to tell me all the time, because I was rageful, and he'd say, pick your battles. You need to learn to pick your battles. And when he came before me, I said, oh, okay. And then I had some inkling before I had surgery. I had inklings that this, what if? That's what would be tapes running in my head.
Because you talk about that in your bio. You said, now that I'm on the other side of my cancer experience, free of cancer, I must share with others what it has taught me about letting go by eliminating the old tapes in my head and replacing them with positive, uplifting, and loving dialogues.
Yeah.
Because the conversations we have with each other, not with each other, but with ourselves.
See, when you talk to yourself, you're talking to God.
Did you hear that?
You're talking to God. And you say, I'm not worthy. And he said, okay.
I'm going to show you you're not worthy.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll bring into your experience.
What we have, exactly. What we think of, what we talk about, what we think about, it comes to our life.
Romans 4:17, speak on those things that are not as though they were. So you speak negativity, and that's exactly what you get.
So I thought, and it was really wonderful. And I took all my clothes off, and I looked in the mirror, and the skin was hanging and everything.
As Maya Angelou say, my breasts trying to beat my breasts are at my knees.
Oh, girl,
they're racing each other to get to my knees.
That was the worst thing because I had been, you know, I used to carry 5-gallon buckets of fertilizer, and I used to milk cows. So I had good pectoral muscles.
Okay.
So I didn't really have to wear, you know, the broth, right?
Okay.
And I looked at I was like, oh no, oh God. Then I said, girlfriend, at least you got some.
Hello.
And at least you're healthy.
Right.
So I started looking at, oh, you have beautiful eyes for the first time. Oh, people tell me, oh, you have beautiful eyes. Like, no, I don't. I said, I looked at my skin and I said, okay, start just with your skin. Start with your teeth, because one of the aftercare specialists, Leah, said to me, well, you don't have those North Carolina teeth, because a lot of people do chemo radiation. It rots their teeth.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
You have beautiful teeth.
Thank you.
I'm looking at them.
Thank you. It rots your teeth out, but I had chemo brain badly.
Chemo brain?
Oh yeah.
What is chemo brain?
Well, that chemo adheres to your brain, and you forget. I couldn't do this last year. You know what I'm saying? Having this conversation, because my thoughts were scattered.
Okay.
So I couldn't work a crossword puzzle, and I used to fly a lot, so I worked crossword puzzles so people wouldn't tell me their business.
Okay.
So I couldn't do that, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna lighten up on myself. I've been beating myself up all these years. I'm gonna lighten up. I am worthy. I deserve. I have value. I am beautiful. And you know what? I don't have to feel this hole within me. I don't have to eat anymore. You know. So I was very selective about what I eat. But I was always kind of, selective about what I ate. And I just said, okay, I'm just gonna live this life. And the opportunities came. I met Mary at a Pass It On, this, what is it? It's a resale shop.
You know that was no coincidence, Mary. That was no coincidence. That was divine providence.
Yeah, and we started talking, and then I spoke at this women's meeting there in Raleigh. And she said, well, next time you do it on Facebook, call me. Next time you go. So I took her, and we were on the way back home, and my friend called me from D.C. because Maya had died. And she said, can you come up and do Phenomenal Woman? And so I was like, no, I'm not feeling well. But I went. I started feeling better, and I went. But we have to, as women, and as women of color, because we have a disproportionate amount of health problems, chronic issues. We have to really start loving ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Because when we love ourselves, we can love everybody else.
And you make an excellent point, because when you love yourself, you begin to feed yourself the kind of food and nutrition, not junk food.